What's up guys, and welcome back to round number 9 of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, driving for the Honda racing team with Jenson Button. And today we are going to be doing our first 50% race. You guys have been asking for it, so I've delivered. And we're here for the Canadian Grand Prix today. So last time out we were in Baku, and the car really showed evidence that it's starting to improve. So yeah, it was a really exciting race. Click the I button in the top right corner if you didn't check that one out. But yeah, it was a brilliant one. If you guys watched it, you will know we got our first points of the season, which was fantastic. And we also managed to defeat our rival Pierre Gasly, which was a bonus. If you guys are still enjoying this series, do make sure to leave a like down below and also subscribe if you're new. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into proceedings today. So before we jet off to Canada, we've got a sponsorship renewal. So our PSD contract has come to an end, and that meant that we sort of were able to delve into these secondary sponsors once again. So our goals have sort of shifted really since the last time we renewed sponsors, and it's really a balance between your goal bonus and your weekly income. So obviously you're not able to obtain a goal bonus every week because there's not a race on every week. Whereas there is weekly income every week. So I was sort of trying to balance the two really. And there were a couple that sort of drew to my attention. The first one was DSB Optics, who asked for a top 10 finish during the race, which obviously I believe we're capable of now. But I don't think we're going to be able to get points finishes every week at the moment. But it's a really nice logo, so that's why that one caught my attention. And the other one was Atlantic. So they say, as a team, complete a total of 75 laps during a race weekend. Obviously now we're going up to 50% races. It's pretty much, if myself and my teammate make it to the end, that's pretty much 75 laps anyway. So yeah, we decided to sign with Atlantic, and yeah, a good weekly income coming in from that. So of course, new sponsor means sticking the logos on the car, and the Atlantic one, pretty nice logo to be fair. So we've got it on the front wing end plates, also on the engine cover, and that is what the car is looking like at the moment. In terms of upgrades going into this race, we decided to go for a durability one because we are really falling behind the rest of the field. And I think sooner rather than later we're going to have to take some big penalties in terms of grid position if we don't upgrade them. So yeah, I've been putting it off for quite a while, but decided to go for a turbo upgrade, and yeah, hopefully that will ease the concerns later on in the season. We're about a month away from contract renewal time, so that means that we have to be a bit conscious of our money situation, but we can still afford to spend some money at the moment. So we decided to upgrade the marketing facility for the first time and go for the activities management, which costs 2 million, but it says that it'll increase the positive effects from the team activities. And we've been doing team activities pretty much every week, so yeah, I think any enhanced benefit from that will be good. But for the first time in a while, there's no activities because we are going straight over to Canada, obviously catching a long-haul flight from Azerbaijan and straight into the race weekend. Now, in terms of the weather, it's looking like it's going to stay clear for qualifying and the race, although we did get fooled by that last time in Baku. But yeah, quite cloudy, quite overcast, which means temperatures will probably be quite low. And then just taking a quick look at our R&D situation. So we're now back down to the third worst team, as has been the case for the last couple of episodes. But morale in the powertrain department is good. Of course, we've done a lot of upgrades there, so not too surprising. But yeah, that's what we've got on the way. We've got a lot of big parts, including a major upgrade in the powertrain department. And 3 of those 4 upgrades will be with us next episode, I believe, for the French Grand Prix. But yeah, in terms of the actual R&D tree, we've changed our team colour back to black due to the comments which you guys said. But unfortunately that means you can't really see us on the development tree. But I can assure you we are literally pretty much neck and neck with Alpha Tauri and also Alfa Romeo. And that midfield is looking so tight, although Racing Point seem to have really caught up with the top 3 teams. Now, in going to 50% races, I've decided to cut out the practice sessions just to make sure the videos aren't too long, but we still gained some decent R&D points, as did Matsushita, and that brings us our total up a little bit more, but not quite enough for an upgrade. So without further ado then, it is time to get into qualifying for the Canadian Grand Prix. So out we go for qualifying then. And this time, our engineer Jeff actually manages to get the weather correct. It's not raining, it is just heavily cloudy. And although it's looking a bit gloomy, it is apparently going to be dry for the whole qualifying session. So yeah, getting out into Q1 and setting our best lap time is going to be on the screen now. But yeah, initially we sort of struggled around this circuit, so only P19 on our first run, but you can see as we come through the first sector, already 2 tenths up on our previous best and 3 tenths up on Pierre Gasly's time, which is currently the one that we need to aim for if we are to get out of Q1. Again, second sector pretty good, half a second up compared to our previous best as we come through the turn 10 hairpin, get a decent launch out of there, and through the final couple of corners, again gaining another couple of tenths of a second in the final sector, and that was enough to get us up into P7, can you believe? So yeah, very close the field spread is in this race, and for the first time our teammate Nobuharu Matsushita manages to make it out of Q1. So both of the Honda cars are going to be in Q2 for the first time, beating the Renault of Daniel Ricciardo. And you can see here coming out of the garage with just 2 minutes left in Q2 to set our final time, and we are right behind Kimi Raikkonen. And I thought around this circuit it's probably going to be a good idea to get within a couple of seconds of the car ahead, because we'll lose a little bit of time in the corners through the turbulent air, but the slipstream effect at a circuit like Canada is going to be pretty important, and you can see on the mini-map there's quite a lot of cars that are thinking the same. But yeah, this is our fastest lap in Q2. You can see getting a bit of a tank slapper on the exit of turn 2 as we run now towards the 3 and 4 chicane and towards the end of the first sector. Now, I wasn't really expecting to improve in that first sector because that's where the turbulent air has most of its effect. But we get a decent enough exit off turn 7, and now you can see gaining a little bit of time on the run down to the 3rd chicane on the circuit and the penultimate one, which is the turn 8 and 9 one. And this run up to the turn 10 hairpin, we are now nearly 3 tenths or over 3 tenths of a second quicker than our previous best time. Getting it turned in nicely into the hairpin. It's all about getting good traction off here, and this is where you see the delta tumble. We are now half a second quicker than our previous best, just about clinging on to the slipstream of Raikkonen ahead, picking our braking point for the final chicane, making sure to stay out of the wall of champions and getting on at the DRS. What's it going to be good enough for as we come across the line? Unfortunately, it's not good enough for Q3, and it's only good enough for P14. Now, I don't know, maybe we could have gained a bit more time in the corners if we hadn't have been behind Kimi Raikkonen. But still, P14, not too bad. We out-qualify our teammate and just a couple of tenths of a second off Alex Albon, who just scrapes in to Q3. And now as we end qualifying, of course we finished our rivalry with Pierre Gasly last time out, which means that we need to pick a new rival. And yeah, it was difficult to pick one. But we decided to go for Esteban Ocon in the Renault. I don't think we've got the pace to match the Racing Point or the McLaren at the moment of Carlos Sainz, but I think we can do better than Daniel Kvyat. So yeah, the rivalry with Ocon has started. Unfortunately, he did out-qualify us there, but hopefully we can beat him in the race.
Hello and welcome to the Ile Notre Dame once again for what promises to be another incredible Canadian Grand Prix at a fiercely competitive circuit, where pole position can often be decided by less than a tenth of a second. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday puts him on pole, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Vettel, Hamilton, Max Verstappen and Perez, Stroll, Albon, Sainz and Kimi Raikkonen, Grosjean, Ocon, Buchan and Giovinazzi, Ricciardo, Kvyat, Pierre Gasly and Lando Norris, Magnussen, Latifi, Russell and Nobuharu Matsushita. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
So on the grid we are then for the Canadian Grand Prix, and again it's a bit overcast up ahead, not the nicest of conditions, but in terms of the race strategy for today, it's tight between a 1 and a 2 stopper. But we're going to start on the medium compound and just see what the drivers around us do. So, yeah, we might go for the hards towards the end, or we might go for a two-stopper. And, yeah, we'll play it by ear and, yeah, see what we can do. But going on to the formation lap for this Canadian Grand Prix. It's tight at the top in the driver standings, as it has been all season really, with Charles Leclerc just 1 point ahead of Lewis Hamilton at the moment, with Vettel and Bottas in behind waiting to pick up the pieces. And in terms of the constructors' standings, we are off the mark finally. So we're up to P9 thanks to us scoring the point last time out in Azerbaijan. But can we improve on that today? We're starting from 13th on the grid thanks to a grid penalty. But what can we do here? It's lights out and away we go. We're starting next to our rival Esteban Ocon. So we're going to try and get past him on the run towards turn 1. And we outbrake him by the looks of it. We're going to be side by side with Ocon through the first couple of corners, giving him plenty of room on the outside. We managed to find a good bit of traction on the outside of the track, something which we struggled to do in qualifying. And it looks as if we're just going to get our nose around the outside of him into turn 3. We're side by side, but we get the racing line and we are up in it to P12 ahead of Ocon, who's also starting on that medium compound of tyre, and the same goes for that man in P11 just in front of us, Kimi Raikkonen. We were behind him in qualifying on the track and we're now behind him in the race on the track, so we'll have to see what we can do as everybody files through this middle sector of the first lap of the Grand Prix. And Ocon is very, very close to the back of us, so we're going to have to be careful that he doesn't go up our inside. But everybody brakes incredibly early into the turn 10 hairpin as we get a lovely run through there. There's a yellow flag out because everybody is travelling so slowly, I believe. But we get a fantastic run out of the hairpin using our overtake button, and it looks as if we're going to get past Kimi Raikkonen going into the final chicane. And that is a lovely move, and it takes us up into P11. A wonderful shot through the final corner, and we are up to P11 now. Just 1 place away from a point position. And as we come towards the end of lap 2, start of lap 3, DRS is active, and we are very much staying with these couple of cars ahead. Alex Albon has struggled all weekend. He only managed to qualify, I think, in P9 or P10. And yeah, really struggling in the early part of this race, with Roman Grosjean right on his tail. His teammate Max Verstappen, I think, is up in P5 at the moment. But Albon struggling, and we are glued to the tail of Roman Grosjean, and we use the DRS. The Haas car also has DRS, and he is closing in on Alex Albon. He goes to the outside, and we get squeezed to the outside, and that has given us some front wing damage. It's not what we wanted at all, but the two of them go side by side, and we're just going to carry on and actually go almost 4 wide into turn 1. Somehow, we managed to gain 2 positions out of that. But I think that's really scant consolation compared to the fact that we've actually ended up losing a bit of wing. Meanwhile, the battle ensues ahead with looks like Kimi Raikkonen coming out on top. So Albon and Grosjean have been passed by myself and Kimi Raikkonen. So a disaster for the Red Bull of Albon, who's now out of the points positions, and he's on the soft tyre. But our wing damage has given us chronic understeer, and that has left Kimi Raikkonen to once again pick up the pieces. And he moves back ahead of us into P9. So yeah, we overtook him on lap 1, and now he's just dispatched of 3 cars within the space of a lap. So we're going to take a look at a replay now on board with Roman Grosjean of this incident. So he goes to the outside, and then they just brake really, really early. And not really too sure what went on there, and then it was sort of very nicey, which left us to just steam through the middle despite having wing damage. And yeah, then we lock up into the first corner, just making sure that there's nobody that's going to dive bomb us, and that is where Raikkonen comes out of nowhere and dispatches of Grosjean. But if we look at it in slow motion, you can see the 2 cars actually brake at the 150 metre board, which is about 50 metres earlier than the braking point, and that's why we went into the back of them. But yeah, not great for ourselves. So the one-stop strategy has pretty much gone out the window, and we're going to somehow try and stretch this into a 2-stopper despite stopping on lap 4 of the Grand Prix. So we're going to fit another set of the medium compound of tyres as we go right to the end of the pit lane. The team have got a new front wing ready for us, and they take it off incredibly quickly. And they've got the other one on very quickly as well, and it's only a 6.5 second pit stop, so very, very quick for a wing change. A lot quicker than the one that we had in Monaco for a similar incident. But yeah, we obviously emerge in last position. Nobody else has pitted yet, and it's just about pumping in the laps now in this little bit of free and clean air. But yeah, we've got a 14-second gap to Matsushita, who obviously took a penalty, and he hasn't made up any ground whatsoever, which is disappointing. But now as we go on to lap 6, that's a free position because that's a smoking engine, and that is Valtteri Bottas, who is running in P2 in the Grand Prix, just behind Sebastian Vettel. But it's game over for Bottas this afternoon. He'll be scoring no points, but yeah, that gets us up into P21. And now we've got Alex Albon, the first of the cars into the pit lane as we go purple through Sector 3. Where is Alex going to emerge? It's just in front of us, but showing how much pace we actually have, because we probably lost about 4 seconds in the pit stop compared to Albon, who didn't have to do a wing change. And even so, you know, we're within a second of Albon, so showing that we really do have a decent amount of pace in this race. Either that or Albon is just having a shocker. But now we come through the hairpin at turn 10, and you can see that we're just about managing to keep with Albon. Unfortunately, not close enough in order to be able to get his DRS. As we've got a couple more cars in the pit lane here on lap 8 of the Grand Prix, so I think that answers sort of how long can the soft tyres last for some cars. But yeah, an early stop for Gasly, and also it looks like a McLaren and a Racing Point up ahead. So Carlos Sainz and Lance Stroll, I think it is, who have come into the pits. Our teammate comes in on lap 9, which means that we're going to gain a position on him, as well as quite a few other cars that are in the pit lane, Roman Grosjean being one of them. So it looks as if he's dropped back quite considerably, and that puts us up to P14 for the meantime, and still keeping within range of Alex Albon, but still having to think about tyre wear in the later part of this race. So as we come towards the end of lap 10, there's a little bit of a battle going on ahead with some cars that haven't pitted in this Grand Prix, and that's 3 cars in the pit lane, which now puts us up into P11. So we're very much on the cusp of the points at the moment, and yeah, staying with Albon as Gasly behind sets the fastest lap of the race on the soft compounded tyre. So yeah, it's not about setting fast lap times, to be honest, for us at this stage of the race. It's just about conserving the tyres and sticking with Albon ahead. As I think that's Kimi Raikkonen coming out of the pit lane. It's going to be very close between the two of us. But we do actually manage to jump Raikkonen in the pits, although of course he'll have much fresher tyres. He's fitted a second set of mediums, so he looks to be on a similar strategy to ourselves, although of course he's pitted a lot later in the Grand Prix. So 1.4 seconds is the gap to Albon. Behind it's only 0.7 of a second to Raikkonen, meaning that he's going to have the advantage of DRS, something which we don't have the luxury of having. And well, we wanted to put that right. You know, even though of course tyre wear, tyre management was important in this stage of the race, we didn't want to be overtaken by Raikkonen, so we tried to get within the DRS of Albon, something which we achieved, but still wasn't enough to cease Kimi Raikkonen from getting past us. But it looks as if he's outbroken himself in it to that corner, or outbraked himself, not outbroken. So we managed to get back past him again, and we're now going to be side by side into turn 10, but we've just let him go because there's no point fighting at this stage of the race. You know, our battles are going to be won later on in the Grand Prix, as Sebastian Vettel takes the fastest lap off Pierre Gasly, and yeah, we go fourth on to the end of lap 15. Which, yeah, just staying with Raikkonen, I think, is got to be the aim at the moment. But we have Esteban Ocon now into the pit lane. Our rival, he is going for the one-stop strategy. So, yeah, he's obviously been put on the same strategy that we would have gone for if we hadn't have chipped off a piece of our front wing. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can do on that strategy. He emerges just behind Lando Norris, who took a grid penalty, and it's quite a way down the order, but of course he doesn't have to stop again this afternoon. Now on to lap 17 we go, and Kimi Raikkonen in the Alfa Romeo is closing up to Alex Albon in the Red Bull. Meanwhile, we're just watching our tyre wear because we're creeping up to 40% now. And we've been on these tyres for about 14 laps, I think. As, yeah, we just creep up to 40%. And I'm thinking at this stage, you know, if we can just get to about lap 22, 23 on these tyres, then we might be able to fit the softs rather than the hards to the end of the Grand Prix. But yeah, we've got a box office seat for this battle between Albon and Raikkonen up ahead. And as we reach the halfway mark in this Canadian Grand Prix, it looks as if Raikkonen is going to be close enough to make a move on Albon into the final chicane. But no, he sticks behind for the meantime. And that Honda engine that is in Albon's car just about doing enough to keep the faster Ferrari engine at bay. And now we go one lap later on lap 18, and Raikkonen is a lot closer this time, and surely he's going to be able to make the move into turn 1 as they now come towards the start finish line. Raikkonen is on the inside and he gets the position and he's up into P8 in this Grand Prix. And their battling has actually been pretty good for us because we've managed to do a bit of tyre management whilst also closing in on them. Only 0.7 of a second behind Alex Albon now, and we've built a 3.2 second gap to Romain Grosjean behind. But now we go on to lap 19, still managing to stick with Alex Albon for the meantime. And yeah, we've probably got about 4 or 5 laps until we'd ideally want to pit, so it's just about stretching this stint. But I couldn't help myself but try and close up to Albon and make an overtake on him. And as we come through the final chicane, we are really a lot quicker than him, as his teammate Max Verstappen is in the pit lane and is just about to emerge. So Verstappen almost a pit stop ahead of Albon. I don't know what has happened to Alex during this race, but he is just not on the pace at all. And our tyres aren't, you know, doing badly, but then they're taking a bit of a battering, to be honest. You know, when you run so close to a car behind, then it's not particularly good for the tyres. And I knew that we were quicker at this stage of the race. So on the straight, we deploy our overtake button and move past the Red Bull of Alex Albon. Who'd have thought it, eh? This little team that we've built up at the start of the season has passed the, I guess, the customer Honda car of the Red Bull. And our Honda engine is doing pretty nicely as we pass 50% wear on lap 21 of this Grand Prix. And Albon, funnily enough, one lap later, actually pits for another set of the medium compound tyre. So, yeah, he emerges as well, just behind our teammate and just behind the man that he replaced at Red Bull, Pierre Gasly, who is in the AlphaTauri car on the soft compound of tyre. So I think Gasly's on a 3-stop strategy because he's gone on a very aggressive soft tyre strategy. Meanwhile, we're just, you know, trying to carry on as well as we can. But Verstappen has got a good run on us on the run to turn 8. There's no point, absolutely no point fighting it. We're in a completely different race to him. We're in a race with his teammate, as we're now on 56% tyre wear. Now, ideally, we wouldn't want to go above 60%, because as soon as you go above 60%, that's when the tyres just, yeah, they're undrivable pretty much. And obviously, you run the risk of a puncture from occurring. So, yeah, I think we've probably got one more lap, which means that we'll have to do 12 laps on the soft tyre, something which is difficult, but I don't think will be impossible. So, sure enough, we get to 60% wear on lap 23, and as we're about to be passed by Lance Stroll in the Racing Point, we make our final pit stop of the afternoon, barring any sort of catastrophe. And, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we feed back in. Will Albon have jumped us once again, or will we be able to get out ahead of him? So we come into the pit box now. Just a tyre change for the boys second time round, and it's a 2.6 second pit stop. So yeah, about 4 seconds quicker than the last one. And now we emerge from the pit lane, and there is Alex Albon. He's still stuck behind Pierre Gasly, and thank you very much, Pierre. I know we were rivals early on in the season, but you've really helped me there. We get out ahead of the two of them. And yeah, don't mind if I do. Out into P10, and we've got no more stops to make this afternoon. So barring these tyres going off, I really feel like another points finish will be on our way. As we now look ahead, you can see that is what it looks like in the battle for P7, I think it is, between Esteban Ocon and I think that's Sergio Perez in the Racing Point. It's either the battle for P7 or P8. Either way, I think we can close up to Esteban Ocon. He's about 5 seconds down the road. He's on some worn tyres. Yeah, he is a battle for P8. So, yeah, he's on worn tyres. And now we see Kimi Raikkonen come out. And he's actually going to be just behind that group. So that does promote Ocon into P7. Perez in P8. And Raikkonen in P9, who is on the hard compound of tyre. And he's just 3 seconds ahead. So as we are on the soft tyre now for the first time in this race, that has given us a fantastic opportunity to close up to the back of Raikkonen, who has looked quicker than us, to be honest, for pretty much the entirety of this Grand Prix. But yeah, the offset of tyres probably gives us about a second, maybe even more than a second a lap quicker than the Alfa Romeo up ahead. And if we can dispatch of him quickly, I feel confident that we can get ahead of Esteban Ocon. Perez really struggling to get ahead of Ocon at this stage, as it's telling us to make another pit stop, something which we don't want to do because I think that these tyres should be able to get to the end. But yeah, we're in DRS range now of Kimi Raikkonen. And I know that we said earlier on in the Grand Prix that we weren't really going to be putting up any fights in the middle part of the race. But this is what we were saving it for. Save the tyres so that we can go on the attack towards the end of the Grand Prix, but not quite close enough to go down the inside of Raikkonen at turn 1 on the start of lap 28. But now coming towards the end of lap 28, we're not quite close enough once again. We just can't get within about 0.3 of a second of that Alfa Romeo, whose engine is just, yeah, seems really good. I don't know whether Ferrari have made a big step forward with the engine this weekend, but it's really a struggle to get ahead of Raikkonen, as Lando Norris is out of the Grand Prix, a retirement for him on what's been a pretty dismal weekend, and the virtual safety car has been deployed. We're trying to stick to that delta as close to 0 as possible, almost going side by side with Raikkonen, but yeah, we almost got close to going red on the delta, so we had to back out just before we went back to racing speed. But Raikkonen is really closing up to Sergio Perez and Esteban Ocon now, and this is going to become a 4, maybe even 5-way battle for P7 in this Grand Prix. We've definitely got the pace to try and get these guys ahead, and hopefully we can do it before the soft tyres go off. Unfortunately, we just can't seem to be able to make a move on Raikkonen, but as we go into the hairpin, he's very tentative into there. We're very aggressive, and we're almost side by side, and we're going to get the DRS here, so surely this is going to be a straightforward move as we run it down to the final chicane. But no, we're barely gaining at all. In fact, I think he's trying to pull away from us, but we brake late into the chicane, and we get past Kimi Raikkonen without any contact. We left him room, and fair play to him for leaving us some room as well. But with that, we are up into P9 in this race, once again out braking ourselves into turn 1, which we've done a million times so far in this race. But now it's eyes forward and try and get ahead of Esteban Ocon, who has been passed by Sergio Perez, rather unsurprisingly, because yeah, Perez has just been looking to get past for so long. And if we want to try and have a go at Perez, which I think is going to be difficult, we're going to have to dispatch of Ocon. And this, though, is probably the most important move of the race if we can make it. Ocon is our rival, so if we can get past him, that will get us some extra acclaim, but it will also get us some extra championship points. And as we close in on the Renault, man, he's got no traction on those hard tyres compared to our soft ones, and we go up into P8, as high as we've been all season pretty much, but we get a pretty poor exit off the chicane, so I think Ocon's going to try and get back past us into turn 1, but we have the DRS and the speed to stay ahead of him. So just less than 3 laps to go in the Grand Prix, and finally we've managed to get ahead of Ocon and up into P8. Now looking forward though to try and get Sergio Perez, but as we come onto the start of lap 35, you can see just outside of DRS range of him. The gap is just over 1.0 seconds. So we're going to have to put the hammer down on this final lap if we're to have any chance of overtaking him with the DRS down the back straight. But we're a little bit skittish off that first corner. I think these soft tyres are starting to go off at the end of this Grand Prix as Raikkonen makes his way past Esteban Ocon for P9 behind us. We are trying our utmost to get within a second of Ocon, but the gap is now 1.3 seconds. We're sliding all over the place, and it now goes up to 1.5 seconds. And I don't think we're going to have any chance of overtaking him before the end. And sure enough, we don't really get close enough. But still, a valiant effort and our best result of the season so far. 4 points coming to the Honda team, and it is a well-deserved P8 finish from P13 on the grid up to P8 on a race day. Can't really have any complaints about that, and the driver of the day as well, which is good. Now, the battle for the lower points wasn't the only one that was going on the final lap of the Grand Prix. So this is on lap 35 between the two championship rivals of Leclerc and Hamilton. They were fighting for P2. So Leclerc gets past Hamilton. And if Hamilton had stayed ahead, he would have led the championship for the first time this season. But no, Leclerc makes the move stick in order to get a Ferrari 1-2. And you can see Hamilton nowhere near Leclerc at the end. But neither of them could get close to Sebastian Vettel, who took another victory for Ferrari. They really have had a lot this season. And yeah, fair play to the Ferrari boys.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari do it again.
Well, they do indeed. It's another victory for Ferrari. I think that's 8 out of 9 or 7 out of 9 now. Either way, it's been a fantastic start to the season for Ferrari. And yeah, very much on form at this point of the season. They're looking good to take the Constructors' title. So there you can see the full race results. Vettel ahead of Leclerc, who is just ahead of Hamilton, and Hamilton taking the fastest lap point as well, with a strong showing from Lance Stroll in P5 and Perez in 7th, with Sainz sandwiched in between. But the boy in P8 is all that really matters for us. We managed to take 8th place home ahead of Raikkonen and Ocon, who just clung on to a single point, with Alex Albon not scoring at all. Can you believe it? With Ricciardo putting in a good show. Unfortunately, our teammate Matsushita could only manage P19 after the grid penalty that he took after qualifying. And what that means for the driver's standings is that we move on to that first page. We're in P5 now, with Leclerc 3 points ahead of Hamilton after that overtake on the final lap. I'll look forward to following the battle for the title right through to the end of the season. And in the Constructors' standings, we move up into P8 for the first time, which is what we need to do in order to satisfy our main sponsor, Distort, come the end of the season. But yeah, Ferrari leading the way from Mercedes up top. But that is it, guys, for the Canadian Grand Prix, round 9 of this season. And I hope you guys enjoyed the 50% race. Let me know if you did. But yeah, I'll catch you next time for the French Grand Prix. But until then, guys, au revoir. Goodbye.